I'm meteorologist Evan Stewart with this tropical update on Tuesday, October 6, 2020. We now have a major hurricane, a Category 4 hurricane in the Western Caribbean. As you know, we've already gone through the standard Roman alphabet, already all the way from Arthur through Wilfred, so we had to switch over towards the Greek alphabet for only the second time in history. And now we have Hurricane Delta, which is a Category 4 storm. Yesterday, it was just a tropical storm. It's rapidly intensified as we have gone through the past 24 hours. Winds are now up to 140 miles per hour. This is the visible satellite, and we really have a lot of overcast over the eye of the storm, but certainly there is an eye there, and this storm is massive, working its way towards the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. It'll likely come very close and making landfall somewhere around Cozumel, Mexico, cross over the Yucatan Peninsula, and then work its way into the Gulf of Mexico. So here is the forecast cone. Again, the storm is moving to the west-northwest at 60 miles per hour, 260 miles east-southeast of Cozumel, Mexico, working its way towards the northwest. Will likely come ashore over Cozumel, weaken a little bit as it interacts with land, but once it gets back into the Gulf of Mexico, likely strengthening back up into a Category 4 storm by Thursday, with winds of 130 miles per hour. As it gets into the northern Gulf, there are some things that might try to weaken it as it gets closer to the Louisiana coastline, but we could still be talking about a major hurricane making landfall along the Louisiana coast with winds of 115 or 120 miles per hour. The storm will quickly weaken as it moves onshore, and by Sunday, just a remnant low over parts of Tennessee, and some of that remnant moisture will work its way into Hampton Roads as we get into the second half of the weekend. The spaghetti plot showing all the different computer models. You can see some had a bad initialization there on the center of location, but notice how as we get into Friday evening, 7:30, just about all the computer models pretty much saying somewhere around Vermilion Bay in Louisiana we could have that landfall late in the day Friday, and then it works its way off towards the north and east. So let's talk about some of the factors why we've seen this strengthening and why we expect a storm even after it makes a brief landfall over the Yucatan to strengthen once again. And it's really all due to the upper level winds and the very, very warm waters of the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Notice right where the storm is right now, those water temperatures in the upper 80s, almost 90-degree water temperatures. You need 80 degrees to sustain a storm. Once you get into the upper 80s to around 90, it can really help fire up the storms and cause them to rapidly intensify. And notice even here through the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico, we have water temperatures around 88, 87, 85. Once we get closer to the coastal shelf around Louisiana, those water temperatures do drop off a bit down to the low 80s. That's one of the things we're looking at why we think this storm might weaken a little bit just before making landfall, but still could be a strong Category 2 or weak Category 3 hurricane, which is still a significant impact. Also the wind shear. These brighter colors show the wind shear spread out over the atmosphere, and as the storm gets closer to the coastline, as we get into the day on Friday, we expect that the wind shear out of the southwest will increase as well. As it's working its way through the southern Gulf, not a lot of wind shear, so that's why I expect it to re-strengthen into a Category 4 storm. But then as we get closer to Friday and landfall, maybe some weakening, still a significant impact on a storm-weary Louisiana coastline, which has already dealt with several landfalls earlier this year. So we take a look at the American model. Take a look at both of them, actually, the American and the European. It's still very similar. Storm working its way off towards the northwest, making landfall along the Yucatan Peninsula, strengthening again. All of these lines are isobars, or lines of constant pressure. The more lines you see and the closer packed they are, the stronger the storm is. We'll stop it here at 9 o'clock on Friday evening, somewhere around Vermilion Bay, maybe just west of there with the American model. And then the remnants work their way off towards the north, maybe some leftover moisture moving into Hampton Roads by late Saturday or likely more into Sunday or early next week. And the European model, very similar, working its way towards the northwest, crossing over the Yucatan Peninsula. The latest run of the European model is a little bit west of the American. Notice here's Vermilion Bay, so this is a little west, closer to Lake Charles and just east of the Texas line. So a little bit of variation in the computer model. So exactly where it makes landfall still in question, but it looks like that the Louisiana coastline is really the bullseye. And then notice that it keeps the remnants sort of falling apart back to our west, and eventually some of the moisture working in here as we get into the early part of next week. Now we do have several records with Delta. It is the earliest 25th named storm on record. The last time we got to 25 named storms, which was the last time we ran out of the Roman alphabet, was back in 2005, and we got to Delta on November 15th. So you can see we're more than a month in advance of where we were in 2005. It's also the strongest Greek alphabet named storm on record. And once this storm makes landfall, it'll be the 10th named storm to make U.S. landfall. That's the most we've ever had on record. The record 9 set back in 1916. Of course, as the storm gets closer, we'll keep you updated, and we'll have updates every day right here on our YouTube channel and on 13newsnow.com.